Awesome. So you guys have mastered sex transmutation. You've looked at some of the amazing benefits that can come into your life, manifest through higher vibrations, greater quality of mind in your physical life to get to your overarching long-term goals, which is super awesome. Very powerful stuff. With that said, we're going to move over to the computer today and we're going to look at mastering and conquering sex transmutation. So, transmutation of sex energy cells calls for more willpower than the average person cares to use. Great way to develop willpower, guys. Cold showers, go to the freaking gym, whatever you need to do to get on a habit of doing things the right way, taking control of your life. Sounds stupid, it'll freaking work miracles in your life. Remember, when I was trying to lose 50 pounds, what did I have to do? I had to do it like, ow, hurt my leg the other day. I had to do what everyone said to do, diet and exercise. It wasn't magic, it's not magic. Just gotta do it, guys. Best way to make it happen, use the power of habit, okay? Sound good? Sound awesome? And then obviously there's a bunch of amazing training throughout this course and through this member area. And I'll give you some of those general tips for some of those more specific applications like, cut sugar. And then for our bodies, really, really good. And then increase willpower. Like honestly, cold showers, like they're not that difficult. Just, it sucks, but you just turn on the water and get freezing cold. And that'll fundamentally change your life. It's insane, it's so powerful. And it's just a short-term pain for long-term gain. Ridiculously powerful way to increase your willpower. And same thing with waking up early, right? Just go to bed on time. If you can't summon the willpower sufficient to transmute sexual energies into your body, you may gradually acquire this ability over time. So you don't have to be born with it, right? You can make this happen. And the reward is worth much, much more than the effort. So, with that said, the entire subject of sex is something that Hill says everyone is just blind to, which is crazy because we just looked at how amazing and powerful it is. And the urge of sex has been grossly misunderstood. So today we're going to overcome some of those beliefs. We're going to overcome some of those mental barriers, right? Mental blockades that are stopping you. Because I know they're stopping me for a long time for realizing the insane power of this emotion. So great, so great. So Hill says, men and women who are known to be blessed with highly sexed natures are usually looked upon with suspicion. Instead of being called blessed, they're called cursed. Because remember, people are going to try to drag you down. If you're highly blessed, blessed with high sexual energy, you're really up there. You're killing it. You're happy every day. You're crushing it. People down here, they're like going to try to drag you down. They're going to try to piss you off. They're going to be at this whole different level, right? You got low energy and high energy. So you have to be able to stand out. You have to be able to stand for yourself. Say, look, I'm only going to surround myself with people with high energy. I'm going to be inspired. I'm going to go and go and go. And I'm going to raise these people up to my level. You have to stand out as different. You have to stand out as a leader. And that's why this sexual energy, right, is a great way to start being a leader, because it fundamentally, leading is just bringing people up to your peak mental state, increasing their vibrations to get to where you are. A lot of people have inferiority complexes, which sucks. Inferiority complexes, because they have low vibrations, low mental energy. And because of this, they have these false beliefs that a highly sex nature is a curse and that sex should not be part of the basis of virtue. The emotion should only be used in unintelligent ways versus using sex intelligently and with discrimination, right? You know exactly what you want when you're in this peak state. You go only for what you want. You don't misuse it, right? Don't debase the body. You got to enrich the body and the mind and use it as power. Not as a burden, right? And most people don't, so you'll be good there. What's really cool is he's looking at, all of these men that were having massive levels of success in their life. And they're like these blue men. They're so amazing. They have the public face. Everyone's in the space. And they're just doing amazing things. And what he found was that pretty much all of them, right? They all had, supporting wives. And a lot of these wives were maybe self-denying women. They were modest, which is super cool, In the public space, if this was like J.P. Morgan, right? Everybody knew who he was, but nobody really knew who his wife was. A great example I recently saw with this is, you guys remember we talked about Russell Brunson, some of his books, and just amazing training, just great content, making a bunch of bank hopefully through all this stuff. It's great. He is huge in the public space. Everyone knows about him. But his wife is not as much, right? She's not on camera. She's away from the place. But these men can only have the achievements that they have because of their wives. And literally, Russell himself, as a prime example in the modern day, says that exact phrase. And he says the people that connect with his wife instantly connect with him because his wife's the most important part of his life, which is what every single high-achieving man says. Because this connection, this love, and this sexual energy is crucial, is the source of their success. And yet, public doesn't know about it. Public doesn't focus on it. Same thing, Jeff Bezos. I don't know the name of his wife. I know that he was married for decades, and that relationship lasted throughout the entirety of Amazon's growth up until, today when they're crushing it. And yet he just got divorced, right? Which is a shame. He was really upset about that. But he also was like, he took it really well. They did an amazing job with it. Like, there's not a chance Jeff Bezos would be where he is today if he didn't have his wife. No way. Same thing, Elon Musk. Massive success. Amazing biography. Freaking really cool stuff. I gotta read that biography and book review it below for you guys. He had a wife early on. First time he made his $1 million. First time he bought that insane car that he subsequently crashed without insurance, which is a shame, real big shame. He had a wife, or a girlfriend at least. It's all about the power of sex transmutation. Increase that peak state and radically improve the effort and the energies that you bring into the marketplace to transmute that into pure cash that you can use on your way, on your plan to your overarching long-term goal. Very powerful stuff. Very great content. All right? Sound good? Great. Now we're going to look at intemperance, or just basically like too much. You guys know too much, probably not that great. So intemperance in sex habits is just as detrimental in overeating, overdrinking, blah, blah, blah. And it sucks too. Too much is a problem. Remember, this comes down to that idea that you need to be able to channel, be able to efficiently channel, oh gosh, there you go, channel sexual energies to your secret formula, right? And if you can't channel, you're going to have problems. And those problems are only going to multiply through intemperance, right? The orgy of indulgence may account for a shortage of great leaders because no one can avail the forces of creative imagination while dissipating them, right? Instead of having it go this way, if you have too much sex, too little focus, energy flows out, energy flows out, energy flows out. We talked about this earlier where we're filling up our minds and you want to increase, the pool, fill up your pool with energy. If you've too much, stuff, you just don't have control. You don't know how to channel the energy. All of a sudden, this stuff on the top, vast majority of your energies are just going to flow out and flow out and flow out into other areas. into the world. And now you only have a very little bit of energy left. Maybe that's not even from sexual transmutation. Maybe that's from sound. Maybe that's from manifestation magic. Excuse me. So that's why so many people have massive troubles getting in contact and extracting value from the creative imagination, from the subconscious, from their infinite intelligence, because they don't master this form of sex transmutation. And that's also why a lot of people don't succeed until 40s, 50s, like we talked about earlier, is they don't have access to this this full tank, per se, of energy, because they don't master the ability to channel this energy until they're at that older age. And then when they can channel it, they have this full tank, and they have massive growth, and they have massive success, because everything's right there for them. But you gotta make sure, the reason that happens is because they spend 10 plus years figuring out how to stop this from happening. So stop this from happening today, and you can shortcut your success by a decade. That's the power of mastering efficient sex transmutation. Every intelligent person knows that stimulation in excess through alcohol, drugs, narcotics is a form of intemperance. Destroys the organs of the body. You know, you're going to mess up your liver if you drink too much. The same thing happens with an overindulgence in sex. Too much is as detrimental and destructive to creative effort. You will destroy your creative effort. Creative subconscious effort will be destroyed, just like drinking destroys your liver. So please make this connection. Alcohol, other drugs, they have physical harm, right? This stuff here is physical. You're hurting yourself if you drink too much. You're hurting yourself if you take a bunch of drugs. I mean, you're destroying your body, right? You're killing yourself. Same thing happens with an overindulgence in sex. This is mental. You're destroying your mind. You're destroying your creative imagination. You're destroying your link with the infinite intelligence. You're destroying your power bank of vibrations. Same concept, different area of impact, but it's still massive. So you have to figure out many cases of hypochondria, which is an imaginary illness. They grow out of the habit developed from an overindulgence in sex and an ignorance of the true function of sex, which is to channel sexual energies. So if you can't master this and you overindulge, you can literally convince yourself that you're sick because you destroy your mind so much. That's the power. Sex mad people are not different from dope mad people. It can become a drug with overindulgence and destroy reason, destroy willpower, and give you either temporary or permanent insanity. That's the power of this. So please understand, just like anything that's an insanely powerful force in your life, sex transmutation can also be a destructive force. So you gotta careful with it, make it work, and if you can leverage the power of it, it'll ridiculously change your life. It's so amazing, so powerful. A lot of people, a ton of ignorance about sex transmutation, which sucks. Because people, most people aren't like you. Like, they're not on a course like this, learning and growing themselves. So to be here is like, already, you're crushing it. Transmutation. I know a ton of people, and they just freaking bought 9 to Noon. And that book, you guys know that book will change your life. Transmutation. All your personal finances, your investments. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And yet people buy that book and they don't even freaking read it. So, you gotta understand, people bought this course and they totally aren't here. You guys are crushing it by being here. And I guess that's why I made the audiobook, because then the audiobook helps you get through it a lot better. But you guys do this. This is going to be amazing. A lot of people ignore sex just because of like mystery and beclouded dark silence in society, which sucks. Lawmakers, most people don't talk about it. It's not really taught in school, like most things that matter in life isn't really taught in school. And this is why so few people embark on creative effort before the age of 40. It's this idea that between 40 and 60, they finally mastered sex transmutation. They're finally able to increase their vibrations. So if you want to look like a 60-year-old with your achievement level and be in your 20s or 30s or whatever, however old you are, I don't know. Maybe you're a teenager. I'm a teenager. Who knows? Then you can just master the art of sex transmutation and drastically increase your output in the marketplace. It's huge. So huge. So please, please, please. If you're over 40, you can still crush it. You're amazing. This is your prime time. If you're under 40, take advantage of the knowledge of the people above you and become their skill level decades before them. Achieve their achievements and have massive success. Because remember, we talk about compounding in like chapter 3 of the book. And it's this idea that like the most results are going to come at the last, part of your growth stage, in a portfolio, in life, in whatever. But if you start, 10 years later, like maybe this is, 40 years. If you start 10 years later, you're not cutting off 10 years from the beginning. What you're doing is you're cutting off 10 years from the end. So all of this growth is gone. And now you only have this, which is still very nice, right? But you have significantly less because you're getting rid of this, which is the most important part. So the earlier you start, the more time you're going to have at the end to have this massive, massive growth. And obviously it just kind of depends on if you're looking purely at investing versus, business, company, entrepreneurship. It all depends. But I'm pretty sure we can all unanimously agree that it's better to get it going early and put the work in up front so that you can have total life freedom and absolute control over everything you do for the rest of your life by instilling financial freedom and massive success, later in your life. Like I would much, much, much rather work my butt off for, a decade and then absolutely freaking crush it, achieve my overarching long-term goals and have the massive impact on the marketplace and then be able to do whatever the heck I want, right? And on the way there, you're doing what you want. Your overarching long-term goal, your secret formula should be what you want. It should be what you love. And so if you just keep doing the stuff that drives you, you're going to have an uber successful life and have an amazing time along the way. That's the point. That's the power. That's the skill. And sex transmutation will get you there so much faster, which is awesome. And then he gives some more examples about people that started succeeding when they were 40, like Henry Ford. He didn't really start to have massive success until he was 40. Same with Andrew Carnegie. It was well past age 40 when he began to reap his rewards. James Hill, I don't really know who that is, but if you know who that is, he was still, a telegraph operator at age 40. But since then, he's had massive success, which is awesome. And all of these biographies, autobiographies, I think I shared with you before this reference, but it's a very, very powerful reference. It's Andrew Carnegie. I actually learned about this in history class, and the instant, I learned what it was, I pulled it up on Google and just read the whole thing, in the next 2 hours. It was insane. Called The Gospel of Wealth. Really crazy, amazing. Gospel of Wealth. So I read this in this class. It was all about Andrew Carnegie and him growing up and going to libraries every day after work in a factory, and how he grew up and how he was so passionate, and how his passion and his hardworking efforts and every single important factor in his life led him to go and go and go and go and enter the steel industry, Go out there, find a mastermind, develop himself, work on his motivation, and absolutely freaking crush it. I'll actually leave a PDF of this document below in this area, in the membership area, because this is very, very powerful. This is a short essay written by Carnegie, and it is very, very impactful. I highly recommend you guys print it out or just read it on your computer, phone, whatever, because it's really, really, really good. So yeah, grab that one below. It's so cool, and I might have a review video of it, I don't know, but I would definitely read that. It's really good. So yeah, there you go. Between the age of 30 and 40, one begins to learn, if they ever learn, the art of sex transmutation. So remember, your goal here is to learn the art before 30, learn the art before 40, learn the art earlier in life, and use that as fuel to grow significantly faster than most people. Or if you're past that, then you know what? It's okay, not a big deal. The guy who started Home Depot was like 56, and now he's uber successful. So you're still okay. You can still crush it. Now that you got that, let's look at how nature begins to harmonize the emotions of love and sex in the individual. Remember, love and sex are not the same. Sex is just like sex. It's physical. Love is more biological, more mental. And it's that love that allows you to control sex, allows you to control sexual energy. Sex alone is a mighty urge to action. You know, sex, I'm going to do this, sex and love. Massive power through urge. But its forces are like a cyclone. So this is tough to control, right? When you can mix love with the emotions of sex, all of a sudden, you start to move somewhere, you start to get somewhere. The result is calmness of purpose. You get poise and accuracy in your life, of judgment, strong balance, and judgment. Super powerful, right? This is what you're after. And this is enabled by sex. You just have to combine sex and love as soon as you can, because that's the most powerful way to use it. And this is usually what people at 40 start to succeed, because they realize how to combine sex and love. But a lot of people can only develop it through personal experience. So focus on using visualization, right? Like if you're trying to bench, you know, your new PR, or your new PR. If you're trying to bench a new max and you want to bench more, right? And you freaking like add 75 pounds to your previous max. They had this thing, they had this study, and this guy, he was doing that exact thing. He was, previous best was like 300 pounds, and he went 375 total. And he was like, he'd never done that before. So what did he do? He sat there and he visualized himself, closed his eyes, and he just thought. He thought about him successfully benching this weight. And he thought that he thought about this success he was going to have. I'll draw the barbell in a different color. And by doing this mental visualization practice for 10-15 minutes and nothing else, he went onto that warm-up bench. He went onto that bench. Instantly, first try succeeded. He made the new max. He brought it down, pushed it up. Biggest thing he'd ever done in his life. All he did, besides the training, months and months, years of training beforehand, was to actually visualize his success beforehand. It's all mental. It's all mental. Same thing with track, right? You look at the visualization of your goal. You look at this area in front of you. What happens is if you can just visualize yourself running, say you're running 1 lap, 400 meters, if you can visualize yourself running this lap in, say, I don't know, 45 seconds, because you're freaking God. 45 seconds. All you do is think about yourself running that fast. Think about yourself going and going and going at that speed to reach your goal. Obviously, you do training beforehand, but the power here is maybe your previous best was like 55 seconds, right? And this is a huge stretch for you. The best thing you can do instead of physical practice right before the moment where you're out there doing it is to mentally envision the success that you want in your life. And that's how you're going to suddenly get a new record, get 45 seconds and have success. It's because of this idea of auto-fulfillment, auto-generation, right? That if you can visualize it, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Because so much, running's an amazing example, because running is such a mental sport. Every success stems from your ability to believe in yourself and achieve. I remember some of the most successful races I had where I was getting massive drops in time, and then just really, really great sprints at the end, like really great times, and massive growth. It all stemmed from this internal belief. And that internal belief a lot of times is fueled by social pressure. So some of my best races are races where like my whole family was there, because a lot of times, you know, my family split up, parents are not, you know, they're divorced, and so a lot of times it would just maybe be like one person there, if one person, which was still very lucky, because I know a lot of kids, they didn't even have parents. But when, you know, more people in the family came, I would have higher levels of success. Why would I have high levels of success? Why would I run faster? It's all mental. It's all in your head and your ability to visualize. And at the time, I hadn't mastered this concept. I hadn't mastered visualization. So my times were dependent on those people, on the family, on the support being there rather than myself. So I know this is a little bit of a tangent off of sex and love, but you have to make sure you can love yourself, and you can use yourself as power and act independently, because, you know, people aren't always going to be there for you, and you've got to, you know, find ways to stand for yourself and find confidence in yourself and use that as fuel for growth. I mean, for me, it was like running 5Ks, right? And then obviously, you know, they grow and you get longer races. But the core concept is this internal ability to push yourself to the next level, to have the success that you would have if an entire stadium was cheering your name all by yourself. And this is a concept that's not easy. This is a difficult thing to do. Granted, right? Because this is why, like, if you look at football, if you look at, you know, any major sports, you got like home field advantage, right? Home field advantage. What do you think home field advantage is? It's all mental. It's the same football field no matter where you go. The only difference is the stadium. The only difference is the aurora. The only difference is the atmosphere. The only difference is the social pressure. And this home field advantage is a very real thing. Why is it a very real thing? It's a very real thing because a massive amount of sports is mental. A massive amount of business performance is mental. A massive amount of wealth accumulation is mental. You might think, how does this course relate to investing and trading stocks? This course is investing and trading stocks. If you have this limiting belief that your portfolio is only going to have $10,000 in it for the rest of your life, and that you can't have success and you can't have growth, or you're hung up on this number and you don't have a way to expand your mindset, you'll find ways to lose money. You'll find ways to burn cash. It'll happen. This is a concept that's much more elaborated on in the Millionaire Mind, and also, you know, just the amazing Millionaire Mind. They have this cool, amazing impact workshop you can go to. They apply the concepts of the Millionaire Mind. It's insane, so powerful. And it's this idea that you have to change your mental state. You have to change your mind. You have to change your state of being. You have to change who you are personally and increase your conviction and belief in yourself to have success, to have that breakthrough. It all stems from this internal ability to have massive action So please, 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 take it, apply it, have massive mental success. If you have mental success beforehand, it's going to transmute into its physical equivalent. And that's the power. That's the growth. All stems from this one concept. And then sex transmutation is just a freaking amazing way to multiply it, right? Multiply that success and go even harder and harder and harder. So cool. So cool. Yeah, it's so powerful. And then this just adds to it too. Like if you're getting mental support from the woman in your life, that's just compounding the impact. If you know that you have this sexual energy, right, that's coming from this relationship, and that follows you everywhere, that continues to grow your personality, continues to grow your confidence, it's only going to have positive impacts on your business life, on your personal life, anything you do. It all stems from this ability and this amazing, amazing thing that you can do to just fundamentally shift your state of mind. So, with that said, remember the emotions are states of mind, and nature has provided us with a chemistry of mind which operates in a manner similar to the principles of chemistry of matter, right? Chemists can create a deadly potion by mixing certain elements, none of which are individually toxic. Same thing. You can create massive success. You can have an insanely powerful state of mind through your emotions by mixing these emotions that individually maybe aren't as powerful, but if you can channel them, you can master them, it's amazing. Love, romance, and sex are all emotions capable of driving you to heights of super achievement. Love is the emotion that serves as a safety value and ensures balance, poise, and constructive effort. When combined, these three emotions may lift you to an altitude of a genius. Here's the crazy part. There are geniuses who know little of the emotion of love. And what do you think happens to them? They're found engaging in destructive work. Remember, we talked about, like with the millionaire mind, increasing your mind so that you have the ability to have more wealth and you won't sabotage your wealth. These guys that don't have love in their lives sabotage their success just because of the actions they take. They do not have justice or fairness towards others. And tons of these guys, dozen geniuses, they can be named in fields and industries. Well, they will ruthlessly ride over the rights of others because they lack consciousness. They lack love. They lack sexual transmutation. Amazing, amazing example of this. And it's a freaking shame. I was just watching the Elton John movie, the new one. Well, yeah, I don't know. It depends on when you're watching this. But it's called, what was it called? Rocket Man. And really, really amazing life story about how this guy developed and everything he did. And what happened is, when he was a kid, he was just this little guy. His real name is Reggie, right? I mean, he changed his name to Elton John as his stage name. It was so powerful, and I'll get to that in just a moment because I want to go to the backstory, and then I'll tell you what happened there. So he was playing piano as a kid with his family, and he was really, really good. And he went to the Royal Music Academy of London, right? Because he's from London, so he goes to the Royal Music Academy, which is awesome, super cool. Then he copies his teacher, and his teacher was super impressed by him, and he just kept going and going and going and going. He just kept practicing over and over and over. This is a concept that is very, very well established in Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And I'll leave the book review and the link to grab that one below. It's a really, really powerful book. I met so many people that have read it, and it's just fundamentally changed their lives. It changed my life. It just shows so much about the background of success and how you can personally use that to create massive levels of success by kind of sculpting your life to get exactly where you want to be based on creating the experiences right now. They're going to bring you there. So if you got this goal right here, It's about creating the experiences right now that are going to set up the base to get you there. That's exactly what Outliers goes through. It talks to so many people that had massive, massive success. And one of the things he focuses on is the 10,000 hour rule for like huge influencers like Jobs, Gates, bands like the Beatles. They all had 10,000 hours of practice and experience in their respective fields, practicing over and over and over until they got to success, right? Whatever that means for you, whatever that is, whatever this goal is, they got there through massive action and massive practice. So that's really a powerful mindset. Just one of the few in Outliers. Outliers is freaking awesome. So I'd recommend you guys check out that book review below. And I'll talk so much more about it because it's really, really crazy cool. So Elton or Reggie, whatever, he practices and practices. And then he starts to tour, right? So he goes and he tours with just some guys. I mean, they're not like still with him today. But you know, he was performing publicly on his own when he was just growing up. And then people started to like him, so he got to tour with a group, and they made a band. And then in the movie, it just goes through his childhood pretty quickly. And he just keeps playing music over and over and over and over to get to his, you know, the skill level that he was at his peak, right? And he's still at. He's amazing. Cool stuff. Just a little bit, you know, older. I'm focusing more on philanthropic work, which is awesome. So he tours and tours. And then what was really interesting is, get this right, he starts to get to the record business, and he finds his partner, I forget his name. He was the guy who made like pretty much all of his songs. Like he wrote them, and then after he wrote them, he would play them. So he created a 2-person mastermind. With this his partner, and his partner would write the song, he'd play them, and together they were much, much stronger than either of them individually, and they created his, you know, best initial works. I mean, these are some of his top line songs, years and years and years into his 20s, after he had toured with a band and practiced for so long, decades. At least a decade. I mean, so much time went into the background of it. Then he started to have this 2-person mastermind, his best initial work. And after he had that really great work, he started to have incremental success. He started to accomplish this right here. He started to have his first wins. And when he had his first wins, he attracted people in his life that were, you know, obviously attracted to success. And he figured out, well, the movie revealed that, you know, he was gay. And so he starts to date this guy who was like a manager, and like they get pretty freaking hard on. There was like a little more elaborate like party scene and a lot of crazy stuff that happened. It's a great movie if you want to learn about personality development. Really cool. It's called Rocket Man, and it's just about Elton John. And after they had this initial work, right, what happened was he gets involved with the gay manager, and then they just start pounding, which was, you know, just great cinematography to watch. I'm so excited about that. And he starts to have love in his life. He starts to have sex in his life. Not traditional, but you know, at least it was something. And so after he gets this manager, what he does is he starts to have more and more success. He starts to play in more and more American American, you know, sittings, right? And he like works with this manager, and basically when he was growing up, especially with his friend, like when they started to mastermind and create their music, he was working with this record company from London, right? And he was working with his manager in London. And he went with this gay manager from America, basically fired his record guys and like kicked him out. The people that had brought him to where he was, he kicked them out. And after he kicked him out, he said, I'm just working with this new manager, and he's gonna do it for me because we love each other and blah, 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 right? So he burns this bridge, he burns his past, and he works and he starts to, have this new manager, which was his gay friend. And as the story progresses, it goes and goes and goes. Eventually he starts to have massive success. They move into this huge mansion and stuff like that. And that's where they fired him, was when he got his big mansion. And he grows and he grows and he grows. And what happens is that he drifts apart and he starts to have arguments with this gay manager guy. And they start to get kind of distant. It didn't work out. Not all relationships work out, right? So he gets really mad at him. The gay manager gets really mad at him. Basically, they break up and they stop having sex. And they both live in this massive house, but they don't really talk anymore, which sucks for him. So what happens is he goes out and he keeps playing, but he gets more and more reliant on pills and alcohol. And now he bases his energy more so on taking cocaine, pills, I'm just gonna say drugs. He was snorting coke, drinking constantly, and using those as temporary ways to increase the vibrations in his mind, to increase his state of being, to increase his output in the marketplace. Here, obviously, we're applying this to musical output. And it works, temporarily. Works. He puts out new songs. He starts to keep going and going and going, which is great for the short term, right? But it's not reliable. So he starts to crash. He starts to have super big problems, and so he finds this woman. Remember, he's gay, right? But he was recording in the studio, and he found this woman, and then he just kind of the way the movie made it look. He married her instantly. I'm sure there was probably a little bit more to it than that. But he marries this woman who he doesn't really want to have sex with because he's gay. And then they move in together, and they slept in separate rooms because he was gay. And then they just kind of got really frustrated and got divorced because he was gay. So it's the idea that love alone isn't enough. And that sex is that driving force, and love is the way to control it. So when he was with his gay friend initially, his first gay friend, the guy he really got involved with, which was his manager, he was super, super in love with him, and they were having sex all the time, and that increased his vibrations and had massive success, massive growth for him. When he was with his new wife later, he had love, but he didn't have sex, right? So it didn't have success. He was tired, he was sad, he was depressed, he was drinking all the time, to increase his state, right, and to keep producing for the marketplace. But that ended up in a pretty quick divorce, the way the movie made it look. So divorces her, goes home, shares his stuff, and he's still producing music. He's Elton John, right? He's crushing it. And I forgot to tell you about why he changed his name. Okay, I'll tell you at the end because it's really powerful. And I think that would be an amazing, amazing way to end this module. So I think that's how we should do this. And then we will use our next module to further develop the emotions of love. And, talk about a really important concept. Yeah, that'll be good. So we'll do that one in the next module, because I want to finish this, because this is powerful. And I don't know how you guys are budgeting out your time for this, which is awesome that you're budgeting out time for this and you're making it work. That's amazing. You guys are crushing it. Just keep going through this. It's going to be worth it. This stuff can change your life. It's changed my life. And this is an application of it that shows the insane power of it. So I feel like I don't want to erase this storyline, but I also kind of have to erase this storyline. So he keeps growing, and he's on his own, basically. He goes to his family, and when he goes to his family, what happens is he's got his dad and his mom, they didn't have a great relationship. His parents, his mom was cheating on his dad when he was young, and then they got divorced, and his dad was always in the Army or the Air Force. Whoa. Sorry. His mom was always in the his dad was always in the Air Force, so he was home a lot, and it just kind of sucked. They had a very strained relationship, so it was kind of a bad place to grow up. Kind of sucks. So he had to kind of push himself through that and just develop emotional strength in that home environment when he was growing up, which sucks, really sucks. But I mean, eventually overcame that. So he goes home to his dad because his mom was living, I guess, with her new boyfriend, husband, somewhere else, not in their original home. And his dad, I guess, he got 2 kids. I don't know how he got 2 kids, two other kids. And they all sit down in this room with Elton John, and they talk, and Elton's just trying to impress his dad and make his connection and be happy. And what happens is his dad gets out one of his albums, because he was, already massively successful. And what was happening throughout this meeting is these 2 kids, they were like, "Are you really, a millionaire? Are you so successful? Like, that's so cool. Whoa." And Elton's like, "Yeah, I guess that's cool, man." Because he was kind of sick of it. He was like, he's had publicity everywhere, and he just wanted to connect with his dad and have like a family moment with his dad. So his dad comes over and he gives him this record, and he's like, "Hey, would you please sign this?" And Elton's like, "Sure, yeah." He signs it, to Dad, and then Dad's like, "Oh, no. This is for I forget the name, but this is for, like, I don't know, Joseph. This is for Joseph at work." And Elton's like, "Seriously?" So he scratches it out, and he says, "To Joseph." Right? Whatever his name was. And that was like the last straw with him. He got so pissed. He walked out of that house. He had no significance, no importance to his dad. His dad said he didn't listen to his music, didn't like him. He got into that cab, he got into a taxi, went home, and just freaking lost it. Like, he got super messed up. He always had a really good connection with his grandma throughout the film. So when he goes home and he's just like drunk, drugs, everywhere, messing up, basically his whole life. He overdoses, he jumps in a pool, like almost drowns. It was like crazy cool. Like the way they implemented the music with it, like, this is a really good movie. Rocket Man. And so that happens, and you gotta remember, the entire movie it's really interesting the way that they frame it. So he goes to the ER, and his grandma's like the only one who's supporting him. And he had that love with his grandma, but again, familial love is not the same as relationship with a spouse, right? Like, you don't have that sex aspect. And so he was crashing down. His vibrations were so low because the drugs weren't consistent. The drugs weren't going to keep him up, and he didn't have that quality relationship for him with a guy, because I guess he's gay, so that's cool. So what's he do, right? He has to get back out there. He has to keep going. He keeps pushing himself because he's still got his gay manager guy and is still in a contract to keep producing music. And he kind of needs to, because he's spending like all his money on drugs and parties, which is kind of crazy. So he keeps going and going and going to increase his vibrations and increase his significance. And what happens is he pushes himself, and he's still working with that songwriter guy that he met earlier, that he masterminded with, that made all of his songs, which is awesome, right? He's having great success with him. But as he keeps performing, the big problem is he's losing that drive, he's losing that motivation. And he actually lashes out against him right before one of his concerts, and he's performing like amazing music, and he's providing tremendous value to the marketplace. But internally, this guy is messed up, and it sucks. He lashes out against him, he was like his best friend, because they were masterminding together, right? Like, they were a team, not a gay team, but they were a team. So he goes out there, performs, and what happens is he gets on stage and he's playing his piano, and eventually something clicks in his head. The motivation wasn't there anymore. All of a sudden, he was like at this level, right? This is where he was Reggie. And this is where he was just a kid. He was nothing, right? This is where he's Elton John. And the difference between these two states, this is a high vibration state, and this is low vibration. And what happened is, he just didn't have it anymore. He didn't have these high vibrations. His body deteriorated, his mind deteriorated, and he fell and he fell and he fell and he fell. And eventually, what happens, he's scheduled to perform like in the middle of New York in this huge concert. And he's right in his dressing room. He's got this massive outfit on. It's like wings, got horns over the top. It's super cool, super like reflective of his personality because he looks like the devil. It's crazy. And he walks out of the performance before it starts, gets in a taxi, and freaking goes to an AA meeting and says he's an alcoholic, he's a druggie, and he's got to change his life. And that was kind of like how the movie transitioned over to like the climax. And it was all him realizing that he was in this low vibration state. He wasn't able to master his emotions. He wasn't able to master his drive. He wasn't able to master sexual transmutation. Because of that, he had to get help. He was focusing on these ways, these drugs, alcohol. He was literally snorting cocaine before the show because he didn't have control over his vibrations. The drugs were much less of a problem when he was in that strong relationship at the beginning, because that relationship brought him the necessary energy for his mind. And that's what you need to focus on. That's the power of sex transmutation. To finish this up, I'm going to go through a conversation when Elton was growing up, or getting into the music scene. He met this other really famous guy. He was singing and they were performing just when he was starting out his career. And he was trying to play the piano. He was doing his amazing stuff, writing songs and singing and performing what his friend wrote. And making like world famous songs. I mean, amazing stuff. But he sits down at a bar with this guy who was a successful musician. And they're at this bar drinking, just chilling out. And he looks at him and he says, "Oh, that's so cool." Whatever his name was, I forgot his name. And he's like, "Oh no, that's not my real name. That's just my stage name. You can call me, I don't know, you can call me," I forget his name. He says, "Call me my real name instead of my stage name." And Elton says, "What do you mean stage name?" And he says, "Well, when I'm performing in front of an audience, they don't want just the normal me. They want the peak state. They want the elevated me. They want the high energy me. They want the person that's going to pump up and give them amazing music. And so that's why I have a stage name. That's why I have a different persona. I have this normal state, then I have this high energy state where I perform." That's the difference, right? It's just a difference in energy. And by labeling it with a stage name, I'm able to have that transition instantly, right? And so with Elton, he took this and he said, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I should," because he was Reggie at the time, right? He's like, "I should change my name to something amazing." He keeps thinking about it. And he looks at one of his original bandmates at one of the, remember he had that original band, and one of his friends, his name was Elton. So he says, "You know what, I think I'm gonna change my name to Elton." And then the other guy's like, "That's my name." And he's like, "Yeah, you know what, too bad." And then he was at this original recording studio with the people he originally signed with. And the guy was like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "My name is Elton," even though he'd like never said that in his life. He was fundamentally shifting who he was and who he identified with as a person. He was moving from low energy to high energy with his new persona. And then he got the name John. I guess the movie said he got the name John because he looked over at a picture and he saw one of the artists, and the artist was John. And the guy was like, "Elton who?" And he's looking at this picture and he says, Elton John, And that's how he got his name, which is freaking cool if that's true. That's really sweet. The difference, of course, is that this artist over here, he only used the stage name when he's on stage, and then with his friends, he stuck with his friend name. But when Elton made this switch to Elton John, this was him. This was his life. Everything was Elton John. And so he was always in this peak energy state, which is totally okay. You're able to do that. That's a very okay thing to do. If you have the energy, if you have the growth, and that growth and that energy comes from sexual transmutation, right? It comes from this internal ability to manifest massive amounts of energy through sexual emotion. But Elton didn't have that, right? After he broke up with his gay manager guy, he didn't have that energy. And so when he was in this state of mind that he was Elton John, he didn't have the energy to support it, so it wasn't sustainable. So you have to focus on figuring out where you want your peak to be, and then using that peak as a benchmark for how much energy you need. Because fundamentally, if you change your identity by changing your name, you don't have to physically change your name. It's all this internal belief. It's this internal mindset of what you think about yourself. And one way to do that, which he recommended, was if he said, you know, you're going to a new state of your life, a new change in your life. You know, changing your name is a way to signify that. Changing your state is a way to signify that. And it makes you believe in your future, makes you believe in who you are. Great example of this, right? JFK, John F. Kennedy. JFK, he went by Jack Kennedy. He went by Jack with his friends, with his family. And obviously in politics, in his professional space, he was John, right? So it's this difference between the low, chill out energy state and the high energy state. So he would have his professional work as high energy, his personal life just chilling out. And the way he differentiated was this identification through names. So he would be Jack, or he would be John. And that would identify to him and let him quickly know exactly what name he needed to focus on, what energy state he needed to be in, how much oof had to be in his life based on the environment he was in, based on the name he had been identified with. Same thing happened with Elton John, except Elton took it to an extreme, right? He hated being called Reggie because he only wanted to see himself as a massive success, and he only wanted to be this huge image in the public space where he was always just this huge rock star. And that worked for him. That was his persona. And that's why he was always Elton John, but it wasn't sustainable. Wasn't sustainable because he didn't have sexual transmutation. Same thing, like literally, this is like crazy, but like, I mean, you don't even have to get rid of the F, right? Like I'm an F. But like I do this same thing. And I did this before I kind of realized the importance of it. But like, in business, I'm John Wooten, right? But with personal life, with relationships, with, you know, intimacy and family, I'm Jack. So it's this difference of, you know, the public perception versus that private state. Because that private state matters so much, because that's where you get the sexual energy. That's where you get the family, right? That leads to the transmutation with your spouse, with whoever. It's this idea that you have peak states, you have chill states, and those chill states recharge you, right? Just like your battery. It's that idea that sexual transmutation will increase your emotional energy, fill up your subconscious bank, and give you time to grow and grow and grow and grow. So that when you meditate, when you work, when you practice, whatever you're doing, you have this bank to draw on, and that goes to the success that you need. That goes to the ideas. That goes to the creativity. Excuse me. All stems from your ability to fill up this bank and use it to its potential. Same thing happened with Elton after he finally sort of like overcame all of his history. And he went to this meeting, and he got off all of his drugs. He met new people, right? And he found a new gay guy to marry. And they got married, they adopted 2 kids. And now he had this sexual energy in his life. And he's using that for philanthropy, right? He's using it, philanthropy. He's giving back to his people, right? And this is exactly giving, oh gosh, giving back. And these are the principles that Carnegie talks about in the Gospel of Wealth, right? It's this idea that there is a desire and a joy that comes from giving and sharing and spending and contributing with other people once you have that abundance in your life. And that's exactly, you know, why the giving pledge exists with Bill Gates, right? It's the same thing. And if you're interested more in philanthropy and expanding your happiness and increasing, right, everything here increases your energy so that you can do so much more for your philanthropy and have a massive impact on the planet. Tony Robbins talks a lot more about this in his book, Money Master the Game. And I highly recommend, I have the book review below. You guys freaking check this stuff out. It's all so powerful. And like I said, there's I'll link the Gospel of Wealth. I'll give you guys that document below. Because this stuff is crazy cool. And it all stems from this internal ability to increase your energy state. And sexual transmutation is the most powerful way to do it. Ever since he had this new family, he's had massive success with his charity work, massive success with expanding his impact to being so much more than just a musician. And obviously now with the movie, it's huge. And it's this massive transformation in his life. And he always is working towards these massive goals, right? And these goals change as the decades change and he gets older. But he achieves it, right? He achieves everything he sets his mind to. Why does he achieve things? He achieves things because he knows he's a winner, because he knows he's a success. He was one of the, an insanely amazing and impactful artist in the music space. That all stemmed from his ability to commit and make it happen. And those same character traits that he developed to do that are only multiplied once he finds established and stable relationships that allow him to use sexual transmutation later in his life to increase his impact and radically change the world around him. So please take this with power, take this with joy. Understand the duality of low and high energy states and focus on finding that relationship, finding that outlook of sexual energy that can be combined with love through, spouse or whatever you need to increase your energy, increase your emotions, increase your state, fundamentally shift every single aspect of what you deliver to the marketplace, and absolutely crush it. Sound great? Sound awesome? Hope you guys got a ton of value from this. Go out there, do amazing things. Hope you enjoyed this module. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.